What's up, guys? Welcome back to the JP and Trav Show. As always, it's your host with the most, JP. And to my right, I have my esteemed brother, friend, and colleague and co-host, Travis J. Davison. Travis, how you feeling, brother?
Man, I'm good. Good. Just got a couple of big time clients get back to me, getting meetings on the books about Team Sports Consulting Group, including one that most or all of our viewers will be very happy about. I know some people saw a graphic with OSU on it and thought, "What are you doing working with the enemy?" I'm like, "Hey, man, I got to pay my bills. You want me donating to NIL? You need me to make some money. You know what I mean?" So that's been going really well. Really excited. Looks like the OU women's hoops went out to a 19-0 run, dominating Vandy right now for their fourth straight win. Jenny B's been just on fire with them. They're on the bubble of hosting, not the bubble of getting in, like, some, but bubble of hosting in the first round, like the women's tournament does. So, anyways, super excited to have the guest that we got joining us. Dari and I went to the same high school, Union, and then obviously both went to OU. So, Dari has always held a special place in my heart. So excited to finally have him on the pod. Dari, welcome, man.
Thank you, bro. Hey, good to see you. Good to talk to you. Thanks for having me on. I'm taking a special timeout from this hockey game, so hopefully nobody spoils anything for me because I'll go back and keep watching it here.
Yeah, well, the comments tend to spoil things occasionally, but.
Yeah, I'm going to silence that chat. I was going to go with the chat and just let the people come in and comment, but now I'm afraid people will start telling me the score, so I'm going to hide that chat. But if you see something great come across, by all means, man, hit me with it.
Yeah, if it's something, and we can put them up on the screen like this. So we'll do that if something good comes across. That's how we'll handle that, because we don't want any hockey spoilers. Because I am not tuned in right now, obviously, either. I know Canada got out to an early lead, but anyways, again, welcome. I know you've been kind of doing. I know they call it the car wash whenever like a player or coach goes to ESPN and does all the shows. Like they call it going through the car wash. You've kind of been on the car wash as far as OU go. I know you came on to KREF, which you went on the morning show. I'm an afternoon guy, but it is what it is. But have you been on with anybody else yet?
Yeah, I've I was on with Toby on there. I was on Dave Myrick on 107.
Oh,
yeah, franchise. Is that it? I think that's it. I don't know. I've been asked a few times. Somebody sent me it's funny when first of all, I did not expect this to blow up, but back when I was in local TV at Channel 6 in Tulsa, I used to host from time to time the Sports Blitz, the Oklahoma Sports Blitz. And a buddy of mine sent me a whole conversation they had about it. So I'm like, wait a minute, I used to host the show, and now y'all are sitting here talking about me and something I said. I thought that was kind of funny. So I hit up Blevins and Holcomb. I'm like, glad I could help give you all some content Sunday night.
Yeah. I will say I was sitting in my living room and, I'm watching. And, of course, I do, don't bet out there, kids. But what I do is I emotionally hedge. I am so emotionally involved and impacted by Oklahoma sporting events that I realize that what I need to start doing is bet on the opponent. Because if we lose, then I can at least say, like, I made $20 or whatever. Like, it just softens the blow a little bit. Because if we win, I don't care. I'm excited about the win. I'm not thinking about, the $20-$30 or whatever. But so when the game went final, I'm having, mixed emotions because I'm like, God, we needed this win to get to the, to take one step closer to the tournament. Yeah. I think yesterday we were at 40% odds, according to, I think, your employer. But, those odds, I never know how ESPN FPI works. But anyways, like when it came across and you were up there and you had like the look in your eye where you finally just said, all right, look, hold on. Like, I was like, all right, here we go. I got to record this. So when I put it out there, I was like, okay, he's on TV. So it's a very large audience seeing this. I'm going to bring it to an extremely focused audience of Oklahoma fans because it's something. And JP, we were talking, in the green room beforehand, and it was like, this is a conversation we've been having for a long time, right? I was at the College World Series in 2022. And I
I'm
was
still not
literally
that, but yeah, I was too. I was at the final. Yeah.
well, and I always make fun of my co-host on KREF, Tyler, because I'm in Rocco's, the Jello Shot bar,
Mm-hmm.
and I've got my speaker doing a radio remote, trying to get people excited. Championship series, we're live on air, all this kind of stuff. And meanwhile, in the speaker, Tyler's back in studio, and he's talking mad crap on Ole Miss. He's like, "Yeah, no wonder they're all there. They're a bunch of losers. They've never won a championship. This is the best they've ever had. Of course, they don't want like all this, that, and the other." And all these Ole Miss fans in Rocco's are looking at me like, "You trying to get your ass kicked? What's going on here?" Like, it's not me, it's the speaker. But I mean, with that, it's we live in a weird kind of, okay, if you win, we'll come. But baseball, it's weird. Like, you got to win like championships and then we'll come. But you got to fight with softball, and all they do is win championships. It's just interesting. It's a conversation we've been having for a while. So I'm glad that you kind of kicked it off from a national perspective, because it is. How long you've been working specifically just SEC? I mean, I know you're ESPN. You were doing Sports Center. You've done all that, like what, but specifically intimately with the SEC for how long now?
Our network. I mean, I was with the network when we started it, so that was 10 and a half years ago. Before that, though, I spent 3 years hosting ESPNU, but at the same time, I also did a lot of play-by-play. So I did a lot of basketball and baseball in the SEC. So, I mean, I've seen it up close in arena, in stadium, and then obviously all the championship events I go to, but then in studio for 10 years on the SEC network as well.
Yeah, because you were doing Baseball Tonight as well at some point, right?
So when I was in Bristol, like from 04 to 11, I did Sports Center, a lot of Sports Center, Baseball Tonight, College Football Live, NFL Live. I did some OTL. I did all college basketball stuff. I did everything, mostly Sports Center and College Football Live there for the last couple of years. And then I came down to Charlotte. So ESPNU, and then 3 years later, SEC Network. So we started that in August of 14. So I've been with them since we started.
What do you miss most about Bristol? In just Sports Center in general.
Yeah, I mean, like, I enjoyed Sports Center. It was pretty cool. I because in this business, you kind of, that's the right is I'm going to college and high school and college and thinking, man, that'd be so cool to get to do that show. You work through local TV. That's still the goal. Go from one place to another place to another place. And then I got the opportunity to go up to ESPN. And the first, year or so, it was all ESPN News at the time. And then I just got a chance to do the first show outside of news that it was Baseball Tonight, which was really cool. That was on a sick call. And then I kind of got some opportunity to do Sports Center, and then that kind of took off. So I would say for the last 5 or 6 years, probably that I was up there, out of the 7 that I was up there, I probably did 80% Sports Center. And then a mix of Baseball Tonight and College Football Live and random other college basketball stuff.
You said one
was cool, man. It was cool. I remember this. Like, I try not to get too, like, I don't let the moment really ever try not to let the moment get to me. But I do remember sitting on that set for the first show. I think it was with Butcher Gross. And then you hear da-da-da, da-da-da, and then there's the 2-shot, and you're on the 2-shot, right? So like that was kind of the, holy crap, this is.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, that was kind of like the pretty cool moment. And then after that, it just kind of became all right. So like, try to keep doing a good job and live the dream a little bit. But then I was ready to move south of Connecticut a little bit.
I bet. Yeah, you bring up Bucci Gross. I mean, just thinking of all those old like anchors in that time, that were on that desk. I mean, it's. I mean, obviously not. I'm 35, so soon to be 36 in 2 days. So it wasn't necessarily my childhood when you were up there, but it was like, okay, like growing up watching stuff like just some of those, the Stuart Scotts and the Scott Van Pelts and all those guys kind of, were sports at the time, because Fox really wasn't bringing much to the table at the time. The worldwide leader was still. It still is ESPN. They're still your employer, so still is ESPN.
Well, I know this. Like, I'll say this. I mean, I always up there, did my best to kind of to represent Oklahoma, the state, Tulsa, the town. Like I always was. I'm still very, very proud of like where I'm from. So I did my best to try to represent to represent that state as well as I could up there. I always tried to make references when I could. So
Yep, I remember those.
John Anderson, former driller, that was classic, and he did that for years. But yeah, as much as I could, I tried to.
Yeah, former driller was iconic. So with that kind of, I don't know, segueing into kind of the SEC stuff, right? You're an Oklahoma guy, Oklahoma alum. Like how aware around around set, around studio, stuff like that, are people aware of different allegiances? Like, do people see you and they're like, "Oh, Dari's our OU guy," or do they look around at other people? Like how
you talking about in the building or
yeah, kind of in the building, right?
Oh, we all know where we're from. Everybody knows. Our producers know. Yeah, John Anderson was a Tulsa guy too. We were both at Channel 6. He was there before I was, but our producers, we all know where our producers went to school. We're all big college sports fans. So, it's well known who on the air where we're from, off the air where they're from, our production assistants, we know where all them went to school. We'll walk through the building and be like, boy, that was brutal by UNC today. Like it doesn't, we're not all SECers. We're from all over the place,
Right.
But actually, two of our main producers, one of our coordinating producers is an Edmond guy, went to Memorial. He did not go to OU, but he's a lifelong Sooner fan. And then another one of our producers by the name of Randy Heritage was in school with me at OU. I was a year ahead of him, but we didn't know each other there. Wow. But he's a big Sooner. So even well before OU came into the league, there were three of us producers, and then me, two producers, and myself, that we all talked OU all the time. I mean, that is that OU is a big conversation piece in our newsroom because we've got some representation there and always have.
Okay. Well, if we need to start, some propaganda, with the producers and, start to maybe just put our last 4 years of softball highlights, just like at a 1% like opacity behind it to just kind of get the propaganda machine going. Especially with it being kind of diamond season as basketball gets into their postseason. What's been as OU people? Has it been kind of your, I don't know, when you talk OU and when it's good, is it basically what Patty's been doing, because it's unmatched? Nobody's ever done it in the sport, and I've seen you at the College World Series or Women's College World Series. Like it's the most dominant run of any at least SEC team since you've been at least a part of ESPN. So when it comes around to softball season, do you walk with your chest out a little more,
Well, I haven't gotten to yet because they haven't been in the SEC yet. So, but yes,
really?
I know I do. Whether I'm working with Kayla Bro or Haley McClenny, two Alabama greats. Kayla's on the coaching staff now with Murph out there, but we've got. Madison Shipman, a Tennessee Vol. I mean, like I can't talk too much crap. They were all Americans. And I was just, a goofy student going to school, there well before they were anything in that sport at all, literally. But no, it's always fun to talk a little OU. There's Murph gives me crap. Alabama's head coach. He'll shoot me a text from time to time, just says RMFT. I'll let people figure out what that is. But
yeah,
no, it's great. We got a great relationship, and most of the coaches there. I was having a conversation this morning actually with Eli Drinkwitz, Missouri football coach, about what I said, and he kind of had a funny little comment. He goes, "Yeah, because Missouri's atmosphere last night. Now they're a much better team than Oklahoma, but that atmosphere against Alabama was through the roof." And he just shot me a text and said, "Is this a little bit like what you'd like to see at OU?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's something similar to that, or even close." So it's pretty fun. I've got everybody kind of, I think, knows where I went to school, and we all have a lot of fun with each other and their alma maters.
Ironically, Brady Cook is, I think, trying to get me in touch with Drink. We did Brady Cook out at the Shrine Bowl, and he was like, "Man, I need to get you in touch with Drink." So you can text Drink back and say, "Hey, you just share my number. We'll get in touch for team sports." But you know where Drink was born, right?
I don't. Should I? I probably should.
Norman.
Drink was born in. He's never mentioned that to me ever. That's
Yeah.
wild. No, I did not. I had no idea that that's where he was from.
Well, we just found that out this year. We're like, how did
Really?
I don't think he was raised in Norman, but apparently he was born in Norman, which is crazy.
I mean, I try to keep up with the Okies. Sam Pittman is an Okie. Barry Odom, who was in the SEC for a long time, is an Okie.
Well, the Odom family, Barry's up at Purdue with the director of recruiting up there for Barry, and then Brian is now out at UW, out at Washington. He was at North Texas. So yeah, it's we got a lot of good coaches here in Oklahoma. Ohio's had some good ones. Oklahoma's got some good ones. So we got a couple Gundys that turned out all right. So
yeah, listen, hey, and I mean, there was a time not that long ago where two FBS head coaches were Union High School products. When you're looking at Justin Fuente,
and
in there,
yeah,
not bad. 2 out of, I think at the time 131. So out of one high school in Tulsa, come on, now we'll take that.
Yeah, well, and my annoyance with everybody, because when I was at the Shrine Bowl, I was talking to a coach that used to coach at UCO. He's the assistant, Marquise Williams. He's the special teams coordinator for the Falcons now. But he was like, "Oh yeah, I know about Tulsa Union." I'm like, "No, all these 405 people call it Tulsa Union." I'm like, "It's just Union High School.
Yeah,
there's nowhere on the building."
Even people in OKC and stuff reference it as Tulsa Union.
That makes no sense.
In or from Tulsa, it's often called they call it Tulsa Union. Yeah,
it's silly. It's just Union High School. Take it from Dari and I. It's just Union High School. It's it is what it is.
I saw the Jinx message come in. So there.
Exactly. There you go. It's not, and it's not Miami for those screenshotters. But anyway, so let's get into it. Kind of your comments obviously caught fire because I think the main reply was twofold. First, it was, "Hey, Dari, don't blame the fans for this loss,"
which is ridiculous. That's not
what is ridiculous. And then 2 is, well, the basketball team's no good. If the product's not good, why should we have to pay to attend it? And why should we, why should we support it? So I think first and foremost, it's obvious you weren't blaming the fans for blowing a 5-point lead with 30 seconds to go.
I was not.
And you were like, "Hey, basketball, that includes women basketball, who I haven't checked, but women's basketball probably ran away against Vanderbilt for 4 in a row, and they're ranked, they're good. And then baseball just played in a national title in 2022. So it's like, if you want the product to be good, we got multiple products on campus that are very good." So, kind of give me your thoughts on that.
Well, so yeah, those seem to be the most common responses were, "Give me a product worth paying for and I'll pay," or "Don't tell me how to spend my money." Okay, listen, not what I was doing, not what I was trying to do. I understand the product isn't good. I do. Now, I've also seen that building when the product is good and it's lacking. And I'm not talking about the physical structure, which we all know is kind of a piece, right? And needs to go, and that's a whole other issue, and the city is not helping them, and so on and so forth. That's a different show, and I get it. The building sucks. Always has, ever since I was in school, Travis, in the mid to late 90s. It sucks. Okay, Lloyd Noble. When you look around this league and around the country, but specifically around this league, at the other buildings and the other venues, it is probably 15 or 16 out of 16. So I'm thinking, I'm like, as I'm going, what's worse? Nashville, Vandy, probably a little worse condition, but it's unique. So I give that the edge, right? Coleman at Alabama, not great, old. Maybe that's the one that's down there with it. Beside the point, whatever. That building, and I went to watch OU beat Michigan in Charlotte. It was awesome. I saw them lose to North Carolina in Charlotte last year. Sucked, but it was great to get to go. But when you watch them on television, and this was my point, and it's not just me. I mean, I'm sitting there with my guys that are analysts, and we're talking about it, and place is dead. And it's disappointing because, while the product is not great, and I'm not even saying, hey, go spend your money there. But if you're in the building, like, make some noise. If you're in the building and they need a big defensive stop, make some noise. You know, they went on a 23-0 run against Vanderbilt. You'd have never known it if you were watching on TV. Like, there was no buzz. There was no eruption. It is a difficult thing to watch as an OU guy when I'm used to, and I'm not trying to come across as this arrogant SEC whatever, when I'm used to watching mediocre teams play in lively buildings in front of lively crowds that can affect the outcome of a game. There's no question. And like I grew up an OU guy like you did. I understand that the passion in basketball is not like it was in football. I also understand that it was really, really great for Billy Tubbs. And there were times when Kelvin was there that it was really great as well. And there were times when Lon's there. Here's the SEC thing. And I've seen a lot of OU fans say, I don't really care what other SEC people think about us. Okay, fine. That's fine. Then don't care about what I'm going to say. You're in a league now, whether you wanted to go or not, where their programs, their teams in football, men's basketball, typically women's basketball, baseball, softball, gymnastics, are supported not just in numbers, but in energy, in great in-arena and in-stadium atmospheres, even if that team is not a championship-level team. They are. That's not the case everywhere, right? There are individual places, Ohio State, sure. Michigan, sure. There are into Florida State, okay. There are places outside of this league where that's the case. But it is almost wall to wall that way in this league. Across virtually every major sport, some minor sports, wherever you go to play, even if it's not a championship contender. And I know that OU fans have always had this mindset where, look, we'll support the championship contenders. We'll go watch them. We'll be loud and we'll cheer them on. You know what? Who doesn't? Who doesn't? And that's where the SEC separates itself. They're not just following and rooting and being loud and creating great home venues and environments for championship contenders. But for anybody that wears that name on their jersey, for everybody that wears those colors, for everybody that yells that chant, for everybody that does that, that symbol with their hands or whatever it may be, doesn't matter. They are there. They are loud, and it's a great atmosphere to go to and watch on television. And that's what my goal. It's not a goal. I can't influence anybody. I don't have that kind of pull. I understand that. And when I said what I said Saturday night, I wasn't trying to change anything. I was just expressing frustration. Okay. But that's where it comes from.
Right. And like, I think especially that last part that you brought up, compete, if a team's competing for championships, we'll support them. Well, that happens everywhere. But what I feel is, and I've been trying to kind of dissect the why, right? Like, I get that Oklahoma fans aren't extremely, into it at basketball games. Is it the building's fault? Is it the product's fault? Like, the loudest I've heard Lloyd Noble this year was when Oklahoma was rallying back against Texas in the second half. Half the people only stayed to halftime because Red Panda was performing at halftime, and that's electric. So they stayed for Red Panda, and then OU starts to come back, and the students tied together a bunch of balloons and made it all around. Like, it was this weird type vibe, but it was like, oh man, like, we're actually cheering on defense now. I've heard LNC loud when Buddy makes a shot, when Hollis makes a shot, when Blake dunks it. That's not how I measure crowd noise. It's when a big shot happens, like, or an offensive play, whether it be a touchdown, whether it be a home run, whatever it is, like, that is you letting out your excitement vocally. That's not you trying to impact the game. That's where defensive noise comes in. If you are just loud because, the other team's on defense and you're trying to make sure they can't hear, like a football stadium, they're having to go to a silent count, things like that. Like, that's different. That's lively. So to your point, it's like, it's not about necessarily attendance numbers. It's if you're going to be there, like at least try and make it more difficult on the other team. And especially, Dari, with baseball, you can get so close in baseball and you can hear, like, if I yell in a football stadium, the opposing quarterback can't hear me. I promise you, I can make sure that pitcher hears what I'm saying. Like, and a lot of times in basketball, you can too, especially on free throws. So it's like, I'm not saying get up there and call this dude this, that, and the other, but the impact is real. And that's why in gambling, home court usually gets you 3 points in football, or home field usually gets you 3 points in football, right? Like, there's a reason. It's not just because the home team knows the showers better. It's because they're counting on the environment to be worth that many points to the final score. So it's not, and again, we're in the comments, it's, well, Porter's team sucks. Porter's team sucks. That's not our point. Like, even when OU has had good teams, OU fans are not known as a raucous, rambunctious group. Like, that's just not what they've ever been.
And Travis, there's another part of this too. Again, that kind of ties back into being in the SEC, but also being in the SEC at a time when college sports are different than they've ever been. What do great athletes that are looking to transfer, that's huge now, or come out of high school, what do they want? Well, they want money. Okay, first of all, we know our basketball program has very little NIL, and that's going to have to be fixed, because if it isn't, then it doesn't matter if it's Porter Moser, it doesn't matter if it's Jay Wright, it doesn't matter who the hell it is coaching it, you're not going to be able to get talent. That's got to change. But what do they want? They want money. Okay, let's say 15 schools can offer the same amount of money. What else do they want? They want a chance to go to the NBA. Okay, those 15 schools can all probably do that if they're good enough. Look, Jeremiah Fierce could be a lottery pick. Okay, good. What else do they want? I would say they want to be supported. I would say they want to be a part of what they see on TV. Missouri last night against Alabama. Why would you not want to go play in front of that if you have a chance? Auburn, when they play at home anytime. Alabama, when they play at home anytime. Florida, we saw it Tuesday night with OU in that building. But Florida was playing a basketball team that had lost 4 in a row, was 3-9 in league play, and that place was jazzed like they were playing Kentucky or Auburn or Tennessee. Doesn't matter. So if you are one of those guys and you're looking to transfer and go somewhere else, are you going to be natural? All other things equal, are you going to be more drawn to playing at Auburn Arena, at Coleman, at the O-Dome, at Rupp, at Bud Walton, in Starkville, Mississippi, where there is virtually no population base outside of that university, yet they can still pack the hump on a Wednesday night? Or in Oxford, I'm just going to keep on naming these places, man, like Reed Arena at A&M, or to the place that kind of sounded like a dungeon the last time I watched an Oklahoma basketball game. Like, it is going to impact people's decisions. And without great players, the winning isn't going to just magically appear.
Right.
By any stretch. They want to play in front of people who appreciate what they're doing and who can create the atmosphere that they see on television. That's not a good thing right now when it comes to Oklahoma basketball.
No, I agree. And we're getting comments saying that you can't accept the fact fans are checked out on Porter Moser. You're missing the point entirely. It's never been good under Porter. I'm sure we loved Porter in the beginning, bringing up the Jordan, in the press conference, he's fresh off a Final Four, all that. But it's Oklahoma fans for some reason, and I've got a theory on this. I want you to show me a winner before I'm going to invest in cheering for you. I'm not going to love you through thick and thin. I'm going to celebrate you when you're winning and winning at a high pace. And that's what's frustrating, because all the people that are saying, oh, it's Porter's fault. To all of our points, it wasn't bumping when Lon was there. He's a Hall of Fame coach. It wasn't bumping when Blake was doing. It wasn't bumping when Kelvin Sampson was here. It wasn't like a home court advantage. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing. All these people that are just talking about, oh, Porter this, Porter that, you're missing the point entirely. Porter Moserstan says it best. It wasn't good when Trey nor Buddy were here. So all you people that are saying, oh, it's Porter's fault. It's Porter's fault. Well, how was it Porter's fault 15 years ago when you didn't even know his name?
Yeah.
So that's my issue. And here's my theory on it is OU doesn't have a lot of OU fans. OU has a lot of OU football fans.
Cool.
And OU football fans are used to winning at an historic clip, right? They were raised on Bob, or they were raised on Bud, or they're raised on Barry. They were raised, some of them were raised on Lincoln. He didn't win championships, but he won a lot of damn games. They're used to walking in, being entertained, and then going home and whether bragging on Twitter or around the water cooler that they're the fan of the winner in the state. You know what I mean? Like that's they like to associate with a winner, right? So I think whereas like you have other fans that are like, hey, I'm just a fan of the university. I'm going to go to every sport. We've got a lot of those at Oklahoma, not thousands of them, but we've got a lot of them at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But I think we have OU football fans that have been spoiled. They're blue blood football fans. And it's interesting because people say, well, you know, softball's packed out. Yeah, it took a dynasty to do it.
That's right.
Like Marita Hines, they played there for 25 years.
To do. Right? So you've got OU football fans, and then you've got it's the thing to do, right? Look, softball's winning an incredible clip. I want to be associated with a winner. Okay, fine. That's great. But where were you when Patty was building this thing? Yeah. And I know there were plenty of people that were there, but like, let's go back to like, again, I'll show this SEC arrogance that I do know exists in this league. So whatever, go with it. I don't care. It is a different league because it has different passion, and it has that passion. 16 schools, let's just say, okay, historically 12, then 14 schools deep. It isn't one part of the year. They're not front runners. They wear those colors, whether it be in October on a Saturday when their school's playing at our rival, or whether it be to the grocery store in February, or whether it be driving around in their car dropping kids off. Like that school and those programs, whatever ones are playing at that time, means something to them. The whole "it just means more" thing, it gets, made fun of and whatever. But like, let's think about what it means. It means that in the lives of those fans of those schools in this league, the day-to-day wins and losses down in that fourth quarter, the three-pointer that they gave up that ended up costing them that game, that 6-run ninth to win the game, those things mean more to them in their lives than almost anywhere else in the country. It just means more to them. This is a different collegiate sports conference in so many ways, and the passion is why. Eventually, if you start to develop a reputation for being front runners, because all these other fan bases are just learning about us, right? We're new to them. Toby Rowland tells me this all the time, right? He'll go somewhere, they got all these questions about what's it like there? What's it like there? What are your fans into? Like, they're all learning about us. So what are we showing them right now? Are we showing them that we're front runners? Are we showing them that we only care about football? And softball? What are we going to show them when Ole Miss walks into Norman for a 3-game baseball series? Yeah. And Ole Miss is playing in front of a ridiculous 19,000 or whatever it is on a given night, or LSU and their 12,000, or Mississippi State and their 10, or Arkansas and their 9, or Tennessee and their 7, or Kentucky and their 7, like South Carolina and their 7 every night. Like, what's it going to look like to them? Because I think my biggest fear is that Oklahoma develops this reputation for not having a very good fan base. And I know that's not true. I believe that not to be true. Okay. Now it's going to be going up against 15 other fan bases that are pretty damn special. It's got to start to hold up or stand up to that, or it's going to start a downward slope that includes people not wanting to be associated with that university. And I'm talking about those athletes.
Yeah, absolutely. And my, like, again, people keep on getting hung up on Porter, and they're just missing the point.
Can we get over this? There's
Yeah.
going to be a change. I'm with everybody here. I don't know how there won't be a change. I have no word that there's going to be a change. There's probably going to be a change. Okay. But it isn't just the play. And I understand the product sucks right now. I get it.
You can't plug it. You can't go hire Quantus White.
Come on.
And all of a sudden now the LNC is a tough place to play every night. Like, it's just not going to happen. But I think part of the issue is like it's, and with softball, I think it has the advantage of, okay, Oklahoma City as a city invested in the sport decades ago, right? And now they host the Women's College World Series there, right? Like, Oklahoma City is a hotbed for softball. Where can you watch the best softball available? Norman. Yeah, I mean, Love's Field is where the best softball in America is being played. Like, I don't care what the rankings say. So, like, that's where the best softball is being played. When you walk around Love's Field, it is very obvious that there are some people that are just there to watch good softball. I don't know how I pick them out of the crowd, but they're just there to watch good softball. Mm-hmm. But, like, Dari, where I think Oklahoma and Oklahoma State have struggled, because Gallagher-Iba used to be, an iconic. The Thunder are the best game in town, man.
I understand that.
That's
the other thing that's I keep hearing. Thunder. I get it. Listen, I can't tell you, Travis. I cannot tell you how many times I've had to tell people the Thunder killed OU and OSU basketball. And they did. Like, they absolutely did. And I love the Thunder. And I watch every damn Thunder game. I love that team. That's, I'm waiting for a championship just like everybody else and hoping it comes soon and hoping there's a few of them, because my goodness, like, Sam Presti's incredible. We understand that. But at the same time, again, we can go, did it hurt attendance? Sure. But where's that passion within that attendance? Where's the actual in-game passion, the vibe, the atmosphere, all of that? You don't have to have 11,000 to go watch OU play Detroit Mercy. I get it. Or watch OSU play whoever the hell, whatever. I don't care. But, like, my goodness, imagine if you're one of those players and you're walking in and you're like, there's a whole section up there that there's 3 people in.
Right.
Do they care about what we're doing? Do they care
to
about
your point, Dari, like, you talk about, do kids want to go play in front of crowds that aren't going to love you through thick and thin, or that aren't going to be raucous and this, that, and the other? The thing is, you can get that dollar amount on NIL. Kids associate fan support with NIL support, because if I make a T-shirt with my name on it, who the hell is going to buy it if they don't know who I am? Right. If I've got people camping out waiting for my games, then I bet one of them is going to buy a shirt, or they're going to paint my face on their face, or they're going to have one of my, the big faces you hold up, or they're going to buy my jerseys. They're going to do all that kind of stuff. Like, that's what they equate support to Instagram followers, TikTok followers. They equate it to their brand and monetization. Like, I know the Boz started it, like, but the brand to an athlete is significantly at the top of mind now. So understanding that I could either go to one place where they're going to love me, or another place that they're going to wait and see on me. I don't know. Like, I'm probably going to go to the place that they're going to support me through thick and thin. And the part, Dari, that I'm terrified of, like, I'm legitimately terrified of it. Baseball, man. Like, all the people that want to whine about Porter, or the people that want to talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder, that's accurate. The real, junkies, basketball junkies want to go watch the Thunder. That's fine. Like, baseball,
I'd go watch it if I could. Yeah.
In the last 36 years, baseball has only gone 1 3-year span without making the postseason. They've gone to Omaha 10 times in that span. Skip played for a national championship in 2022. They won the Big 12 a couple times in the last 3 years. They won the Big 12 tournament in 2022. They won the Big 12 season last year. They hosted a regional last year. Like when people talk about, if you're just consistently a winner, like, the goalposts keep moving. Like, all right, you're consistently a winner. Check. Skip Johnson has been consistently winning at Oklahoma. You got to play an exciting style. Like, okay, the chaos style is the most exciting style of baseball in in the country. All they do is steal bases and get aggressive on the base pass and like they've got exciting people on the mound and like that's my thing.
You could go to any game this season, especially on the weekend series when those start, and see a potential big leaguer on the mound with that rotation. Like you could see.
Yes.
There's a lot of reasons to go watch them.
Right. And to my buddy Schulte's point, he's like, it's the closest you can get to professional athletes because like you are very close at times to guys that are going to be drafted. You know what I mean? It's like, it is what it is. And I'm glad that Porter Moser Stan brought this up. Baseball excuse will be, it just doesn't interest me. I don't know how we became the unlucky ones that we're the only school out of 16 schools that just didn't get any baseball fans in the map. Like that's what's crazy to me. And I do think that there's a legitimate argument to be made where, hey, look, if an OU fan just loves OU and baseball and softball are playing at the same time, like I know a lot of donors that go to a lot of OU stuff. They go to softball games.
Yeah.
So I get that. Like going to see the Dynasty, fine, I get it. But man, they're on the road. What if OU baseball's in town? Like it costs hardly anything to go to baseball games. My buddy sits behind home plate, has season tickets behind home plate at OU. They're less than his football donations for his tickets, not the tickets, just the donations.
Yeah.
He sits there. He gets to sit there for full weekends at a time right behind home plate. So I don't know.
When people start watching SEC games on Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays, especially in league play, and a lot of times outside of league play, but certainly in league play, they're going to. I like Major League Baseball. I love SEC baseball. Like I would rather watch SEC regular season weekend series baseball than any Major League Baseball outside of an LCS or a World Series. Like it is that much more exciting. It's that much more engaging. The broadcasts that show it, whether it's our network or others, you learn a lot about the players. The coaches all have these great dynamic personalities. And frankly, so do the home atmospheres. And you kind of know what you're going to get from the beer showers in right field in Oxford, Mississippi, to God knows what rodent you're going to see running around the field at Baum Walker in Fayetteville. They've all got their thing. And it's special. Like, it's really special. And so I hope OU represents, man, in baseball. You got 3,000 seats to fill. Can we fill them? I mean,
I know that the product on the field is going to be good.
Yeah.
Like, that's one thing I don't have to worry about with Skip and Ryan Gaines and Reggie Willis, Todd Butler. Like, I don't have to worry about the baseball product. Like, and that's my thing. Softball obviously pulls from it. I get it. But yeah, baseball, I'm hoping to see a lot of people there. Obviously kind of got screwed on the weather on opening weekend. Two games on a Friday on a work day when it's, 35 degrees, 40 degrees, is what it is. But I believe it'll step up. I'm a football guy. Like football is my favorite sport to attend, whatnot. Still, my favorite sporting event I've ever been to was the 2022 College World Series.
Yeah.
Like it's 8 fan bases, very unique fan bases from around the country, descending, taking over Omaha, and everybody's hammered. Everybody's, just it's not like a national championship game where you just have your fan base and somebody else's. I mean, it looks like the Anchorman scene when all the different newsrooms come and fight each other. Like that's what it feels like. Is you've got people from all across the country that are coming in, all that kind of stuff, and it's 2 weeks long. So it's like, I mean, if you're playing well, it's 2 weeks long, I should say. So that kind of stuff, like ever since I was coming back from Omaha, driving back, I was like, God, we need to do everything we can to just make it back here. It's just so much fun. So I really hope, baseball and softball continues to lead the way. I mean, I know it's easy to dunk on baseball and basketball and the fan base or the attendance numbers and the atmospheres deserve it. But softball, I mean, they've been the standard of what it should be.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And that 22 championship series was great. I always go to Omaha for the finals if we have a team in it from the SEC, and we had Ole Miss, and so I was there to see that. And the year before that was Mississippi State, and those 2 years. Well, look, it doesn't matter actually what SEC team is in there, whether it's Arkansas, it's A&M, it's Mississippi State, it's Tennessee, like Tennessee last year. I mean, that whoever they end up playing in that final, if it's a non-SEC team, is outnumbered 20-1 in terms of crowd. And what Ole Miss did to the small number of Oklahoma fans that were there in that stadium was incredible. It was
100-1
crowd. It was and I remember being up in the suite for a couple innings with Joe C and Zach Selman and those guys, and we're just looking around saying, man, like this would be nice if this was us someday. Like, and if this is what it, if we had this many people in crimson. Because
I don't want to put you in a weird spot at all, but do you think, speaking of, man, it would be nice if it were us, do you think the administration can do more to push baseball, to push men's basketball? I mean, apparently they had an OU basketball alumni night the other night, and nobody knew about it until they posted it on social media afterwards. Like, do you think the administration at times gets caught up in taking care of the moneymaker football and saying, hey, look, if this thing isn't successful, then none of it is? Because I do think OU fans, if there's a bad football season, I think OU fans carry that over and punish the other kids. You know what I mean?
Well, I remember going to school there during the worst 4-year stretch in football history. I had 1 year of Gary Gibbs, 1 year of Howard Schnellenberger, and 2 years of John Blake. And Kelvin Sampson had taken over at that time. And that was actually, we grinded through football season to get to basketball. Like, we wanted so desperately to root for something that was going to give us a chance. And basketball was that thing. I remember a big Monday night in 1995, Abercrombie took and hit his first 3 of the year to beat number 1 Kansas. I was one of the people that stormed the court. And then 5 days later, we played Missouri on a Saturday, and they were a top 10 team, and we beat them. And then the next big Monday, we had Oklahoma State, and we beat them, and they were a top 15 team. Like, and the place was out of its mind. It was so great. Like, I know that it can be, even if football's not good, like, it can be. It has been. It's just been a long time. To answer your question, though, Trav, I'm not in tune enough with how they market there. I really don't know. I don't know what they do. I don't know what they don't do. I don't know where they're lacking in marketing. And honestly, I'm not in an SEC city here, and I don't know what they do. So I couldn't fairly answer that.
And I'll jump in here. I know I've been quiet most of the time just listening to you guys, but I've talked about this from an athletic director's perspective, because that's what I do every day. One of the most frustrating things I've seen, in my opinion, has just been just what PSS had said earlier. It feels like, the fans just are expecting things like, hey, if you do this for me, then I will do this. And I'm not saying the administration doesn't, have some responsibility. Every administration has responsibility to market well, to make sure that, obviously you're hiring the right people, making an entertainment, capital, whatever you want to say. But at the end of the day, and what everybody, for whatever reason, keeps getting caught up in, that we're all trying to say, is there's something deeper that needs to be realized by the fans. Is that, like, can you be that type of fan no matter what's going on? I know that sounds cliche, but that's what you're describing. Like, okay, Mississippi State, like, what have they been good at besides maybe baseball and football 1 year? Like, what have they been good at generationally? They haven't. But like you said, Starkville, it's popping. Why is that? What's the difference between them and us? And I think that's what has been frustrating to me in this whole conversation, is people are like, well, if they do this, then they'll do this. If they do this, then they'll do this. Like, I'm not, and I, again, Josie's on a way higher level than I am, but how can I, go to my administration or board of regents or donors and say, hey, can you build me a brand new facility when the facility that we have can't even get half full, whether that's baseball or basketball? Like, who's going to invest in that? You feel me? So that's where my frustration has been.
I do, and that the mentality that you mentioned, give me something that's a winner and I'll go, or prove to me why I should participate and cheer for these guys or women. That's a mentality of a front runner, and that's what I hope Oklahoma fans are not. That's exactly what that is. Again, who wouldn't, right? I mean, was Boise State packing its football stadium before 2005, 6, 7? No, like nobody cared, right? But then it became a thing and everybody started going to watch Boise State. There's not a school in the country with fans that aren't going to show up if you're winning. What did Kansas become in football when they started winning? You couldn't get a ticket in Lawrence. Of course, if you start winning, it becomes a thing to do and people will go. Yeah. Welcome to most universities around the country. That's not this conference. And so you either become an outlier in this conference, whether you wanted to get into it or not, you're in it. You're either going to become an outlier as a fan base that doesn't really care outside of football or outside of championships, or you're going to become like everybody else in this league, or the vast majority, where it's a difficult place to go win, where it's an awesome place to watch a game, even on television, where you have a reputation for caring as much as anybody else in the country can care about that sport, where the athletes become well-known and they walk around campus or around town and that gymnast and that women's basketball player, and you're the talk of the town, even if it's not always going your way. That's what this league is. You can be in it and a part of it, or you can be an outlier. So that's my point. It's like, I hope we're not an outlier, because there aren't many of those.
No, I agree. I was in a conversation with somebody on Twitter the other day, and he's like, why would I root for a loser? It's why would I do this? I said, so you're a fair weather fan? He said, I'm not a fair weather fan. I'm like, yes, you're describing a fair weather fan. Like, if it's OU football or championships, I will go. Other than that, you have to earn my love. And I'm like, you're just describing that. You don't like the word, but you're backing it up with your actions. But right. Anyways, I know we went a little bit long compared to.
And I had to play dad there for just a second, so my bad.
No, you're good. I know we
was listening to you, but I was also texting.
No, you're good. You're good. I was looking at the timer and we went a little bit long, but yeah, I mean, with us, it's one of those things that you can either and it affects. I forget who said it, but like sports are like the front porch of your university, or the billboard of your university, or whatever it was called. Like,
that's so true.
Like, people see that and people want to be a part of exciting things, right?
Yeah.
And look no further than the economic impact of Nick Saban to the University of Alabama. He paid for himself 10 times over, because when you look at the spike in enrollment, out of state enrollment, when he was on his run, it meant out of state tuition dollars rolling in, and we know how expensive college is. So, like, that kind of stuff. Not only are you catering to, hey man, like, athletes come here, transfers come here, high school recruits come here. It's the front of your entire university. It is the window into your university. You want to be known as the place that has the great time, the one that, man, I want to go be part of that, man. That looks like a blast. We've all seen the ESPN commercial, right? Where it's, my teacher told me to find my voice, and he's the Cameron crazy, right? Going nuts. Like, it's like, that's the kind of stuff. Like, you want to be a part of that. Like, be a part of that. So, anyways, I know, again, we've gone over time. We've actually gone almost about an hour. So, Indy, any last thoughts? JP, any last thoughts? Dari, any last thoughts?
No, I mean, I'm glad I got to talk to you guys. I'm glad y'all have me on here. So, I'm not. I want people to realize, like, I'm not trying to criticize. I really am not. I understand it certainly comes across that way in many cases. There was not a better day in my professional life than when 3 years ago, I remember driving around the car with my wife, who really never talks sports, doesn't have an interest in sports. And then the news comes on ESPN radio or whatever that Oklahoma and Texas are locked to join the SEC. And she looked at me and she said, well, that's pretty cool for you, right? And I'm like, oh my God, babe, like this is freaking, are you kidding me? Like I'm going to get to cover my alma mater like day in and day out. I'm so excited to have them in the league. I've always been excited to think about them in this league. I'm not trying to come across as like this get it together or else. I'm just, as somebody who knows the school, who knows the fans, who knows the state, who knows the passion, who knows the programs, and at the same time has a really good understanding of what sports and fandom is like in this conference. I'm just trying to share concerns, share hopes, share what what I'd like to see. And if you don't want to hear it, you don't like me for being in some ways critical, then I'm sorry, but it doesn't come from a bad place. It comes from a very good, hopeful place.
Right. At the end of the day, you have that love for your state and your university. I
Yeah.
mean, it makes sense. And yeah, the last thing I would say, one, thank you for coming, Dari. Really appreciate you being here, man. And but yeah, no, I agree completely. I think at the end of the day, the reason we are critical in anything is because we care about something so much. And we have a friend. He actually clips up a bunch of Sooner football videos all the time, and he helps us sometimes with some of our reviews that we do during the season. Sooner Gridiron on Twitter, and he actually had a couple sweatshirts and shirts that said, Oklahoma versus the world. That they sold a lot. Looks like Travis is actually wearing one. That's
Oh,
perfect.
nice. That's sweet, actually. Yeah.
And so like, but that's the mentality that I think OU fans just need to take right into the SEC. Like,
Yeah.
that's what it is to be from Oklahoma. Like I was born here in Indianapolis, Indy Sooner. That's why but my whole family's from Oklahoma. My mom and dad are from Ardmore. Like, my sister ran track at OU a few years ago. So like it's in my blood. And I know that for a fact, just growing up, going to Ardmore all the time and being around, like that's how Oklahoma people are. And so that's what, I believe you're saying too. We want to show the world, the SEC, that's who we are. So let's show that and stop, acting so entitled.
Yes, I think that's well said, man. Absolutely, it's really, really, yeah. That's pretty much the gist of it, right? I mean, we're a state that is very prideful. I think that we're also a state that sometimes people that let's be real, like people around the country a lot of times look down on us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? We until the Thunder came, we weren't the big marketplace. We didn't have the big teams. Whether they want to talk about trailers or tornadoes or whatever a bunch of oil fields or whatever they want to talk about, right? The grapes of wrath. I don't care. We've heard it all, right?
Yeah.
Stupid Okies, whatever it may be. That I think has always built a very strong connectivity within the state and within Oklahomans everywhere. If I go somewhere and they know I'm from Oklahoma and somebody else is from Oklahoma, we'll sit and talk for half an hour about being from Oklahoma, right? I mean, and there's a pride in that state, and and part of the pride of the state is collegiate sports, whether it's OU, OSU, it doesn't matter. Like there's a real pride in that. I hope that pride shows itself to the rest of the country and particularly to the rest of this league outside of just the fall or at Love's Field. Like we consider ourselves a big time university and a big time fan base. I just hope that that's the impression that everybody gets, because a lot hinges on those impressions. Like we've talked about it, a lot hinges on those impressions.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good spot to wrap it up. So, thank you everybody for hopping in, all 1,000 of you or so, on both YouTube and on Twitter. If you're on the YouTube, go ahead and give it a like. Yeah, Dari, thanks again, man.
Oh, no problem, guys. Enjoyed it, man. I'm gonna go watch some more hockey now. Don't tell me.
Sounds good. See you guys.
See you guys.
Boomer.
Sooner.